All right, y'all, let's get into part 2 of my responses to the comments of my Inflation Hits Black Mothers the Hardest video. If you haven't seen the video and you didn't see the first response video that I did, I really do encourage you to do so because it will help with the context of this video as well. So definitely go look at those. But today I'm going to go over 3 more points that were made. I did 3 last time and I'm going to do 3 more today. All right. But before I get into that, welcome to Black to Bitcoin, where I explore the wealth gap and how Bitcoin is a solution to our financial problems and how it will build generational wealth. So if you are into anything dealing with basically Black people coming up and the experience of Black people in America, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and share it with as many people as possible because we need to get it. All right? Okay, let me talk about these other points that were made. Before I do, let me just go into a few of the, well, not a few, but the ones that I did last video. So these arguments were kind of the most, in my opinion, disrespectful because it was almost like blaming Black mothers and being really harsh on them. So those included Black women just want to be independent and don't want to rely on a man, that they need to choose their partners more wisely, and that they should get a husband. Okay, and I went into all the ways that that is not as simple as it sounds, because there's always a bigger picture around things. So definitely go watch that. But I'm going to get into the last 3 arguments that were made, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, of course I have my notes, so bear with me on that. All right, so the 4th point that I want to do is inflation hits all people. It's not just race and it's not just mothers. Okay? Now, this is one of those things where something can be true, but not directly true to the point that is being made. Of course, inflation hurts people who are poor the most. There is no disputing that. But Black women make a lot less than everyone else. So by default, that means that they are hit the hardest by inflation. It's not saying that other people aren't affected, and it's not minimizing other people's struggle. You can have something that's true and still it applies to other people as well. But in the end, Black women, Black mothers, they will endure the most pressure when it comes to inflation. Okay? I think that's all I have for that. Oh yeah, and then I just have that in the end, Black women and Black parents in general, they're always going to have to stretch their money a little further, so the percentage of their money is a lot higher than other people's. All right? And I decided to go ahead and put the Bitcoin points in the actual points that I'm making because I think that I need to get the Bitcoin part a little sooner than I have been doing. So my thing with this is that if everything is going to survival and you're barely making ends meet, that opens the opportunity to invest in something that you can actually invest in because it does not take everything out of you. Okay, Bitcoin is a very, very easy asset to get into. And since your dollar isn't being stretched the way it's supposed to be, and the dollar is always losing value, Bitcoin gives you an opportunity to store wealth in something that is actually growing in value. Okay? All right. The second one that I have is that I am just making excuses for people. Like, I am just saying these things and trying to, give everybody a break because they're Black women. That I have to say, okay? This really ignores the scale of the problem of what's going on. All right. So I have a stat about Black households. So 35% of Black households are in poverty. All right. That is a fact. That's not me making an excuse. So when I say something is hitting someone the hardest, it's because they actually have the highest amount of a certain thing, which in this case is poverty. All right. And also, if you have something that's affecting millions of people, it's really hard to use the argument that someone is just making excuses for somebody. You have to look at everything on a larger scale. And me giving you the information and explaining why something is in context to what's going on in the world and the situations, that is me giving you the facts. That is not me making excuses for anybody. That is what happens when you have stats and research, okay? You spread the word, especially if you're me, because I'm trying to let Black people know what's going on and why we need Bitcoin. So that is my duty to do so, okay? So I just want to put that out the way. I'm not making excuses for anybody, all right? I'm not doing that. Okay, and I think that's all I had for that one. Yep, that I'm just pointing out patterns. And the point I made about Bitcoin with this, the way I just connected it, is when I say that millions of people are affected by this, I tie that to Bitcoin because Bitcoin can change it to where we don't have all these collective stats about us. Okay? We can store value and not have to have stats like, 35% of Black families live in poverty, or millions of this, or whatever. It's really a way to hold wealth and not have to be a part of statistics. Okay? We would be breaking away from the system and breaking away from all these, generalizations and assumptions about us, okay? And we can just stop being people's guinea pigs for experiments and, what stats are and all that. So anyways, that's just being a little extra, but basically it gives us a way to not collectively be talked about all the time in certain ways, okay? And then I have to turn the page for the next one. The last one is that Black women are on welfare, and single mothers, they rely on welfare, and basically really just calling Black mothers lazy is what the real insinuation is. Let me make sure this is not covering my mic, because I'd be real mad if something happens with it, okay? So, to this, okay? First, I want to say that as far as the lazy argument goes, 70% of single mothers work. Black single mothers. So that in itself is rebutted because Black women have to work. And I said this in general about another video. Like, Black women make up the biggest workforce, and Black mothers, 70% of them are working. So there's no laziness involved there. Then I have the TANF benefits, which is the temporary assistance of needy families. A lot of people will use this in the sense that Black mothers are getting so much help from the government and just hanging out and, sitting on the couch and just doing nothing. All right, let's talk about that a little bit, okay? So the first thing is that the median amount of money that is given to anybody, and this isn't Black or white, this is just anybody, is $500 a month for assistance. And this is just the median, okay? If you get into northern states like New York, Maryland, Connecticut, it's a lot higher. So you're looking at, I think it said like 700, some are even really up there to 1,000. But Most of them are a lot lower. And then, alas, and of course, the southern states are awful. So a lot of them only provide $200 or so a month in assistance. So clearly, nobody is living off of that. Nobody is sitting on the couch, okay, and just, chilling, getting $200 a month. And then the other one would be like, well, yeah, but what about food stamps? Let's talk about food stamps, okay? So SNAP, which is basically what food stamps is the actual official name for food stamps. The maximum a month for a three-person family is $776. Max. Absolute max. You're talking about the person that is the poorest of the poor. Most people don't get that. That's not even going to be a possibility. It will be so much lower. So you're looking at $25 a day feeding 3 people, and it's at the very, very low end of the poverty line. So that means that it's so much less for anyone who is making more than what that person is. So no, nobody is just getting food and, like I said, chilling and eating good food on the couch. These programs are very minimal. They do not help as much as people think, and it's really overstated when people say, well, welfare benefits and, all these comments. And honestly, you can go look at the comments. I don't even need to really even be summing up what the arguments are, because if you go in the comments of that video, you will see everything is being said over and over again. So anyways, but yeah, SNAP benefits, not really that much of a benefit, okay? And I think that's all I have for that. Yeah, and that's pretty, and then the Bitcoin thing is basically, again, just independence, not having to rely on a system to feed our babies, all right? Building generational wealth so that they don't have to repeat the pattern of having to be on assistance and relying on a government that doesn't care about us. That is what Bitcoin affords us, all right? It is a break from the system. It is financial autonomy and a way to store wealth where nobody has any interference, and that's government, banks, anybody in between, okay? So those are the points that I wanted to go over today. So again, it hits all poor people. It's not just black women. That's not true. I mean, it is true, but it's not true. You know what I mean? That I'm just making excuses for people. I'm not doing that. And then the last one is the welfare system and the fact that it is not as helpful as people make it out to be. Okay? So that is it for this video. Like I said, share the video with everyone you know. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. And I just want to end with, stop being hard on black single mothers. Okay? Think about what it takes to raise a child and the pressures that they have to go through, and stop shaming them, stop blaming them, stop being rude, stop saying insensitive things, okay? They need our support and they need our empathy just like anyone else, all right? Okay, so now I'm really done. Have a great day. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Make sure you're stacking those coins, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.